So there's this guy on YouTube, and he's been around for about 8 years. He's called Leo Gura,
Mhm.
and he's American, and he's a truth seeker, intellectual, psychedelic, and he's got his channel called leogura.com, and he's had a lot of psychedelics, a lot of different varieties. He's done all the work, all the meditation, all the reading,
Mhm.
and he's out there. He's proper out there, and when he speaks with a certain level of arrogance, which is the prerogative of someone that's climbed metaphorical mountains. This dude has boldly gone where the vast majority of people would never remotely have the balls to go. He's gone there, he has experienced these things, he's seen different worlds, and so he's entitled to speak from an elevated position, because it's like if you are a fantastic musician, and you're speaking to someone that's been playing the guitar for 3 weeks. Well, you just do know a whole lot more, and if you can't feel comfortable about saying that, then that's your deficit. And if you, as a guitar player for 3 weeks, doesn't like when the guy that's been playing guitar for 20 years, tells you that you need to practice a little bit more because you're not that good, and you feel offended by that. And who do you think he is? Just because he's been playing for 20 years? No, it is just because he's been playing for 20 years. That's his fucking prerogative. And
Mhm.
so, what we have to do, we have to soften our egos, and sometimes we may not like the delivery, but it's only the delivery. You have to know that
Right.
these people have traveled journeys that you haven't.
Mhm.
And so that's the thing. But I guarantee, Ziggy, if you take psychedelics, then your consciousness will open up, like mine has, and you'll see this well, fantastically nuanced, and you'll never stop talking about it, because you're the perfect sort of variety of person that's going to benefit from this stuff. Now, granted that there's lots of things you see due to your spiritual insight already, but don't ever dismiss the more insight that you will get by taking these entheogens.
Mhm.
Entheogen means to be with God.
So
It's a Greek.
in your opinion, what do you think I'm probably lacking or that I can gain out of taking the psychedelics or what you've observed? We've had countless hours of conversation. What have I not seen that somebody who has taken psychedelics has seen? And is that equated to what we speak about when we talk about death? And how does that impact my reality here in the human vessel?
Well, if you uh, can't see any difference in my delivery to your delivery, then don't ever take any psychedelics. If you
Well,
can
it's
see
not
a
what I'm
difference,
seeing. I'm asking you if you see any difference or what, let's say, any difference from what you've seen from Leo. What's his name again? Leo Garu?
Leo Gura,
Guru Gura.
Gura, is
G Gura.
very well
Okay.
worthwhile watching his videos.
Mhm.
He is an amazing intellect.
Yeah.
He does videos 2 or 3 hours long, no edits or anything. He just stands in front and he's speaking from the cosmos.
Yeah.
And so, what he says, I don't have a problem with. He can be a little bit haughty, but I'm not shy in that department myself. But it's for a very good reason. Just be confident to state that you've travelled and you've seen things other people haven't seen. And just because other people don't want to hear that, well, fuck, I've got no time to fucking give my lamentations for people whose egos don't allow them to be free.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, Now, what you would gain, you would gain just an overall insight into everything, because it gives you, a vastly different perspective. Once you've been into the mind of God, then when I say to you, do you know God? You go, fuck yeah, I know God. Because you do know God. It's just that you've forgotten. So you need to remember via psychedelics. And the easiest way to do that, the most natural way, shrooms, just fucking, introduce yourself to shrooms and go walking in the woods and, start with 1 gram, then go to 2 grams, then go to 3 grams, 4 grams, 5 grams, whatever. And do it that way. And then, if you get the opportunity to do some DMT, it's over in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You just got to get it into your lungs if you're a non-smoker, which is going to be difficult because it's harsh. It really burns unless you smoke it through like a hubba bubba, which is going through cold water. But when you do that, all of a sudden you leave your egoic consciousness and you go into the most phenomenal world that you can ever imagine. And the vast majority of it is completely incomprehensible to you. And when you come back, you just go, fuck,
Yeah.
and that's it. But then you see, it's like, that film Lucy. You
Yeah.
seen? You remember?
Yo, dude. I just started watching it last night. I'm in the beginning, and I was
Oh
like
wow!
sleepy. Dude, it's funny you even mentioned that. I just put on that movie last night. Holy shit. Yeah, I'm gonna watch
So
it today. Yeah.
watch that
With
movie, dude.
Scarlett Johansson,
Right?
right? Yeah.
I don't know who is
The
starring, but yeah,
blonde the
this
blonde chick.
woman. Yeah, and
Yeah, yeah.
so it's about these blue drugs and that, and
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
so look, what happened is
Oh, don't tell me
throughout
about the
my
movie.
year.
I'm watching it tonight. All
No,
right.
no, no. What happened with my consciousness? I had myriad of experiences via meditation, which endowed me with an insight equally comparable to psychedelics, only in a different way. Meditation, once you settle the mind down and once the mind becomes still and nurtured, it becomes vastly more open and conscious. And it's like, anybody, any of the gurus will tell you what happens to your mind when you're a long term meditator. And you are more perceptive, you think more clear, you hold more information. Everything seems simple and elementary to you because you're not confused and you've got all this different sort of stuff going on. Oh, but he says this and she says that. I always say to people, what do you fucking say? But unless you have really been to the top of this metaphorical mountain, you don't have anything to say yourself. You only have to say what other people have told you, what you've read, and all these sort of things. And that's great at one level. We can look around and he said this and she said that, and I don't think this and I think that. But I always ask people, where are you speaking from? From what premise are you speaking from? Are you speaking from a person that's climbed that fucking mountain? Because if you haven't climbed that mountain, don't be talking about fucking climbing mountains. If
Mhm.
you haven't been to the depths of the ocean, don't be fucking talking about the depths of the oceans with any level of confidence. Just say I've heard about this and that, but I don't have any self knowledge. Taking psychedelics and experiencing meditation is going to take you to those extremities of
I don't
human consciousness.
I don't want you to think that I'm closed minded or opposed,
No, you're
let's
not.
say,
You're
to
not.
it, because I never said that. What I said, here's the thing: I always sit and challenge what's thrown at me at times to get people to think and to basically challenge the speaker, which is you, in good faith. Like I said, it's
Yeah.
always going to be like that. I never want to get into a state where it's like bad blood between us or anything like that. So don't ever think I'm opposed to it. But here's the thing, though: the plants. So we've spoken about simulation theory and our reality. Our mind makes it real. So when we go into a layer where we're eating something off the simulation, our mind is making a different layer of our perception real in a different form. Now I can get high and activate a lot of DMT by just doing certain breathing patterns and exerting myself to a state where I can purposely uh, enhance this DMT in my system without taking anything outside of myself. I can also have a psychedelic experience, although it's not really possible as much as with a drug, like let's say a plant, because it's a higher frequency. But I can do it eating an animal. You get what I'm saying? I could do it eating an apple or whatnot. But the thing is that we've been so it's like somebody who drinks alcohol all the time. They kind of get desensitized to getting drunk off the first shot. It takes them that much more. I feel like people are already walking around drunk to some extent or high in a way that's disconnected from reality. Like they're just alien to themselves. They don't even know themselves, right? But the reason I say this is I've done certain breathing exercises. I've done certain things that I can say I've climbed a certain mountain that other people have not. You get what I'm saying? Where
Yeah.
the traditional person can say I did it through DMT. I can't tell you I can't. I don't know what the experience of DMT is. But upon, let's say, knowledge and let's say intuitive capabilities that I have, and just looking at the information that I've processed, I can say, well, what if, because I can't say I've taken DMT, but what if that's just a layer of a reality that your mind to make it real by consuming that plant, no different than you think this reality is real by the information you consumed through, let's say, language, your senses, and whatnot. No different than if I take air, because even in the movie they tell you is that air you're breathing, Neil. I can just have a certain, chemical reaction to just the air that I'm breathing that enhance that ability in me, which I have. And this is where I could tell you I've had certain experiences with nature and certain things that have trickled down to basically what's happened in my dream state. Because here's the thing, let's say if you're doing shadow work, you do intensive shadow work, you will surface some shit even when you're dreaming. It could be even intense nightmares. Your subconscious will fucking show you shit. You get what I'm saying? So right now, when you're taking these drugs, because you disconnect from your ego, which is time, you're basically disconnecting from time. It's showing it to you in real time. But the whole thing about it is that it kind of keeps you off tune, in my opinion. I'm not saying this is fact. That's why I always say, in my opinion. I'm very careful with the words I'm using here. I'm not opposed to it. I listen to people who've done DMT. I listen to, like I even said in my videos, I listen to Christians who said they spoke to Jesus and I'm very interested. I'm there like this, like literally present and listening to them because I'm genuinely curious to know where they're at, what state they're in, what mental states they, what happened, what did you do, and what exacerbated that experience for you to have that. I was very curious. I'm like, well, because if you talk to Jesus and a spiritual person talk to Jesus, I'm like, well, there's got to be something happening here. The same way if you took DMT and I took deep breaths or even ate a piece of meat and intentionally made myself get a psychedelic experience from that because I wanted to clearly channel even the lowest of frequencies. Well, if the plant is a higher frequency, the animals eating that is a lower frequency because we can actually say, well, what's the lowest frequency from what we take as far as DMT? We can say, okay, well, what about other herbs like the tura or the devil's horn? I forgot what the name of that herb was. That people say that they fucking go into like comas and shit. You ever heard of that one?
Mm.
The tura. What's that drug that's in nature that's very scary to take? Um, uh,
Th- there's
devil's
one.
trumpet, devil's trumpet, or some shit like that. You ever
Right, I
heard of
don't
that?
know. No,
Yeah, there's some
no.
dangerous drugs that you could take in nature that would really
Salvia
fuck you up.
is something that people really want to avoid.
Which one?
Salvia,
Salvia? Salvia. Is it
salvia.
salvia? Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard it. Sounds like a
that
weed.
will take you into some horrors, absolute horror. But what you're conveying, Ziggy, is
Hold on, hold on, hold on.
this.
Before you go on there. So what? Why would the salvia take you to horrors and one would take you to bliss, like a beautiful state? Like
Yeah,
what is? So are you experiencing the plant? Like let's say for example the consciousness of the plant and you're observing the plant, so you're really not, that's not even your experience, you're experiencing the plant. So if I'm looking at nature, I'm looking at a projection of myself, but everything outside of me has consciousness. So if I'm taking a plant from outside of me and some of them give you a bad trip or some of them give you a good trip, are you experiencing the plant having an experience through you, or are you the one having that experience? You get what I'm saying? That's why I always ask that question. And what did you
or
say I
is the
was conveying?
plant, or is the plant experiencing you?
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And you're
Yes,
observing it, but you're observing the nature of that
yeah.
plant. So the nature of that plant may be
It's
chaotic, and you're like, "Oh shit, I want to avoid that one because it took me to a fucked up state." But did it, or are you just experiencing the nature of that plant?
It's a reciprocal thing. I'm
Hmm.
absolutely convinced that the intelligence of the mushrooms wants to experience human energy, just like the intelligence of trees want to experience the human energy,
Yeah.
and so many other things when we get in tune with it. And so when I'm, for instance, if I'm taking like mushrooms or DMT, there is an intelligence which is there. It's much more profound with DMT, more subtle with the mushrooms, but the mushrooms want to experience you,
Right.
and it's like,
And you are the
um,
mushrooms in kind. Like the mushrooms are
yeah,
you. They're just tapping to a certain part of you that's showing you a piece of what where it's at in your universe. And let's say the bad drug, like the one that gives you a fucked up, you know, space, let's say, is a piece of you, and it's showing you that part of you, but it's having the experience, and it's tapping into your universe because that plant is you in kind. So you're
it's all
ingesting
you.
what you. It's all you. Just like the
It's
animals are you, the humans are you, anything is everything is you, but it's just now are you associating it as you, or are you just the observer? You get what I'm saying? That's basically why I said when you said God frequency and whatnot, the observer, and looking and recognizing what you're looking at as you, right?
yeah. In one of the chapters in my book, I
Mm-hmm.
speak about my experience with Amanita muscaria,
Mm-hmm.
and that mushroom. Uh, it never gave me any psychedelic um, experience. It was bizarre, beyond comprehension in its own way. What Amanita muscaria did for me, it enabled egregores, spirits, to live vicariously through me for 5 or 10 minutes. Now, I had a Viking enter me. I had a primal man of the South Americas, very, very ancient primal man.
Mm-hmm.
That I embodied it, and then a wolf entered me. And, I later found out that when you have the spirit of a wolf in you, it's called lycanthropy. There's an actual
That's right.
terminology for
I
it
heard of it.
because it is a thing. And many people in the old days in northern hemispheres or wherever there's wolves around, because it's a part of our collective unconscious, then the egregores. This thing is just filled with
Yeah,
egregores.
man. Bro, I
So
talked about
this
that lycanthropy in like I think 3 years ago in my videos because I watched
right,
and I was very very fascinated because I started to get into vampires and the lichens and whatnot, and I was like, wow, bro, this is like a real fucking thing, bro.
yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It must have been about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, when I was doing my videos,
Hmm.
embodying a Viking, and I was like, ah!
Yeah,
I knew exactly, what was going on. It wasn't like I was delirious. I knew that there was something that wanted to express itself through me, and because it was harmless, I went with it. And when one come, then it would go away, and then 10 minutes later another one would come, and then that would go away. And so when you look at what goes on there, you go, wow, this thing is absolutely filled with spirits, energies which want to have the opportunity to live through a human being or another animal, whatever. And so when we listen to people speaking about reindeer who have eaten Amanita muscaria, then they are very animated. They are, acting in all different sorts of curious ways, which has led to the myth of the flying reindeers, because obviously they've been jumping around, and they've got massive amounts of energy. And you see, the Vikings used to use these Amanita muscaria before they got into their longboats, because you'd have a euphoria which would make you, strong as 10 men, and it would last for, a few hours, and it was called berserking. and so they would have a good brew of that before they got into the boat, or probably they'd be brewing it on the boat, and then be taking it an hour or two before they hit the beaches, in Europe. And so there's a whole bunch of stuff which we can experience via different states of consciousness.
Aaron, you
Now,
don't
one
think,
of the
and isn't it funny how we say that we eat animals because they have like a higher B12 content, or let's say iron and whatnot, but a lot of these nutrients that these animals have is from what they're eating in nature. But do you think that maybe we're not able to have the same connection when we eat animals that we do with plants, only because the animals we're eating are fed corn and grain and given so much hormones and steroids and whatnot and antibiotics that when we eat it, it doesn't give us that effect, and instead it gives us like a an anesthetic effect, more or less like a zombie
absolutely.
mode where we're eating it like zombies. Like you see how people in the zombie episode, they just eat and they don't give a shit. Like they're just eating everything. It's like that's how humans are. Like humans, we're in the zombie apocalypse now to
Well,
some
you
extent.
see, you look at the animals that we eat. We eat very low conscious animals. We eat
Right.
cows, sheep, chickens, fish, and so we are consuming low consciousness. And although I would never want to
Why
eat
do
a
you think
higher.
they're low consciousness?
Why do I think that? Well, I mean, because it seems elementary. You look at how they live their lives, like a chicken or a sheep or a cow, and there's nothing to indicate that there's a high level of consciousness there.
I think they
And
do
so,
have a high level of consciousness because, for example, like Indians worship the cows. Like a cow actually will cry for their owner if they die, and they're outside and the owner dies, and they actually recorded cows tearing and mourning uh their owner. And meanwhile, they know that
right.
they died inside. So it's a certain level of consciousness that we wouldn't understand. But I feel like the level of consciousness that's so low in them is because they're in these slaughterhouses and their fight or flight kicks in, that even a human under fight or flight, their consciousness is not there. You know what I'm saying? A human is
Yeah.
no
Well,
different than an
if
animal when they're in fight or flight.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure that what you're saying is, got a great deal of truth to it. Because if you look at a human being who lives off the land and, hunts and has a deep, meaningful relationship with the land, then you've got a human being. But
Yeah,
if you take one of these pink apes out of the city who's never actually been in a forest or anything like that, you don't have a human being. You
no,
have an automaton.
yeah,
And, they're vastly different. The consciousness is vastly different. And, we know this because all we need to do is to listen to native Indians or any, um, tribes person which is still in touch with the land, and we know how they still know that everything is spirit.
yeah,
And it's kind of like, we're completely detached from that. And so, yes, we've become very, very dull. But you see, when we take these entheogens or these plant spirits, then that takes us back into that level of engagement. And you see, if I look back at my life, number 9 was my favorite color. Sorry, my favorite
number.
number.
Yeah,
Number 9 is indicative of consciousness. And so you look on the internet what number 9 means, and it's a very, very significant number in math. If you look at 360, 360 is divisible by 9. There's some videos out there which shows you how 9 is divided into all this stuff. It's phenomenal. 9 is a powerful number. I'm born on the 9th. I was born in 63, 6 and 3 and 9. So I was destined to be what I am. My favorite color has always been green. The heart chakra is green. And so, I've always been this thing. This green man has always been within me. Only now, because I don't have to constrain myself in any way, I can let it come out. I
yeah.
don't
You
have
and I,
business
you
with
and I are alike, but very different at the same time. Like my favorite color is red, and my favorite number is 5, and that's the number that somehow is my life number. Is number 5.
Well, number five, right, is I would think is the most powerful number in the Fibonacci, because when you look in nature, you'll see that leaves have five prongs, flowers have five petals. In the sternum, in the middle, there's five, 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 five,
Yeah.
five. Next time you go out in nature, look, and you'll find these Fibonacci numbers: 1, 2, 3,
What
5,
sign are you?
8, 13. What, sorry?
What sign are you? Yeah,
Libra,
Libra. Yeah, I'm an Aries. So yeah, it makes
Aries.
sense. Yeah, got that
Yeah,
that fire sign,
Ram.
the Ram.
Y- y-
That's the first one.
Yeah. And so I'm the scales. I'm balance.
Yeah,
I'm the sword of justice, and balance, peace, and harmony.
yeah.
That is absolutely what I am.
I've had to
And
make
and
a lot of
so
order out of. See, like my life's been chaotic, so I noticed that in my life I've had to become aware to make a lot of order because I mean, since I was a child, it has been chaotic. I feel like I have more balance now than I've ever had in my life. Now,
yeah,
at this
well, I mean,
stage.
yeah, your early childhood, isn't too dissimilar to mine because we both have parenting issues. We both had a lot of trauma in our childhoods, and so we are the variety of people that demand order out of that. Now, there's basically two varieties, predominantly. One is going to fall away into chaos. When they've experienced a lot of chaos, they'll give in to chaos. They'll become victims of chaos and they'll live chaotic lives. You'll see the chaos in everything they do. The polar opposite is the people like you and I who will not accept chaos.
Mm-mm.
And in actual fact, we do the obverse. And in my house, everything has a high level of perfection. Everything I do has a high level of perfection.
You know, it's the same thing with me. Like that's ever since I even got my own apartment. I liked everything. I could say chaos as far as life goes, but my apartment had to be straight. And you know what it is?
Yeah,
Even my cars. Like I'm very big on cars. For some reason, like I've walked into people's cars and they've had bottles and it's a mess. You know how much I fucking hate that? Bro, if I sit somebody in my car, I don't even like them eating in my car because I don't like to see a crumb on the floor because it's like an
yeah,
image of myself. You get what I'm saying? I'm like, nah, can you not eat
yeah,
in my car? Can you not drink in my car? You know, I would go nuts if, like, even my son when he was little, I remember he spilled juice in my car. You know, I flipped. I didn't flip on him, but I almost lost my marbles. I literally had to leave him home, and I went straight to the fucking detail shop to clean it. It's that
yeah.
was just like something anal about myself. I just cannot. I couldn't do it. I couldn't see a stain. I could everything. My car had to be clean, smell clean. Apartment had to be clean, smell clean. Something's out of order. Like I tell people, just fucking clean it and fix it. You get what I'm saying? And that's it. Just clean it. Everything else is
Yeah, and see, my close family members have always had me down as being obsessive, with the obsession of detail, because that's just how I am. So I was the one who got along in business. I was the one that achieved a great deal more. I'm the one now that's writing the book in the whole family. I'm
yeah,
the one that's articulating and philosophizing and all these sort of things because of my pedantic obsession with detail of wanting to know why this and why that and what happens here and what happens there. And these are traits from a disruptive childhood. And I'm not saying that everybody has to have a disruptive childhood to be like this, but most certainly there's a high propensity of people who have had chaotic childhoods, which will want to regain back their security. And how we do that by is the attention to detail and the observance. We become on red alert. We become hyper vigilant, and this is why we learn a lot more than other
yeah,
people,
yeah,
because other people are walking around in their comfort zone. They've got no reason to be vigilant. They've never been threatened significantly to make them like that. You see,
yeah.
so for our childhoods, I don't regret a single day of it because it's been very beneficial,
Me neither.
um, to how we are now.
Mhm.
You know.
Even the lows I've had in my life, I appreciate. Because if it wasn't for my lows, I think I would have been in a state where I wouldn't even have done what I do now at all. And that's why
No.
I'm actually grateful for all those. I'm really big on like that's why like you can like the darker. spaces you could be in, so you have the potential to really brighten up your life as much as possible. It doesn't matter where you're at, and it's just integration. It's basically knowing that one exists for the other to exist, and that's true integration. That to me is I don't discard anything. I just basically look at it as one. It's there as a chemistry. You know, we put
Yeah,
the idea of bad and good to it, but there is no bad and good. It's just things happening, and you have choices. You have free will. As you
in the
think you have no free will.
interpretation.
Interpretation.
Just how you're going to interpret. Can we pause the video for like 2 3 minutes? Want to use the toilet?
Sure.
Gonna make a quick drink and then
Yeah.
come back and
Absolutely.
we'll attack hierarchy and judgment
Yes.
and anything else that
And
comes
I
up.
actually want to cover. I want to get into, just to finish off what we were talking about, because I know you took psychedelics. I want to finish off the energy, the animals, how we consume them. I want to talk about all that because that's actually kind of
Yep,
important. Things that people overlook because they're just looking at it from the physical, but they're not looking at it as the energetic. And we learned this in elementary school. About energy transfer,
exactly.
transmutation,
It's
and
all,
whatnot. It's common
everything
sense.
is energy, and if you're not in tune with energy, you see, Tesla said, if we, as a race, concentrated on frequency and energy, then we'll learn more in 10 years than we have done, for entirety of the time we've been on the planet.
Yeah,
Because fundamentally, quantum physics tells us that this thing is only frequency.
that's
And
right.
so, for fuck's sake, people, wake the fuck up. You
Yeah,
you you are a frequency. Everything is a frequency. We're all vibrating at certain, rhythms and consistencies. And so, if you are out of touch with the frequency of the world, then you're not going to fare well.
that's
And
right.
so that's a whole different subject on itself. So let me just go toilet and then be back in a sec. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll pause the video.